Alright, alright. 13 July 2026, 11 p.m. 5 minutes of courage. Mateo signed up for open mic night by accident. Technically, his roommate had dared him during a moment of overconfidence fueled by too much cafeteria pizza. And by the time Mateo sobered up from the joke, his name was already written on the sign-up sheet taped to the student center wall. Mateo, 8:15 p.m. Poetry. He didn't write poetry. He barely trusts himself to order coffee in English without rehearsing the sentence beforehand. You don't have to go through with it, his roommate said in the next morning. Noticing Mateo's silence over breakfast. I'll cross your name off if you want. Mateo stared at his cereal, genuinely terrified. The thought of standing in front of a room full of native English speakers, but something stubborn in him refused to back down. He'd move 8,000 miles for this exact kind of challenge. He reasoned. Backing out of 5 minute poem felt like backing out of something much bigger. No, he said, I'll do it. He spent the next 3 days writing and rewriting 5 short sentences about missing his mother cooking, terrified of every grammar mistake, every mispronounced word, every awkward pause that might make him sound foolish. He practiced in front of his mirror, then in front of his roommate, who offered gentle correction without ever making him feel embarrassed about needing them. The night of the open mic, the student lounge was packed tighter than Matthew expected. String lights glowing above a small wooden stage. Students crowded onto the couches and folding chairs. Coffee cups balanced on every surface. His hands wouldn't stop shaking. When his name was finally called, Mateo woke up, holding a single sheet of paper, his heart pounding louder than the microphone feedback. He opened his mouth to begin, and nothing came out at all. A long, painful silence stretched across the room. Someone in the back murmured something to their friend. Mateo felt his face was burned with humiliating, humiliating, humiliating embarrassment. Certain he was about to walk off stage without saying a single word. Then, from the front row, a girl he didn't recognize said quietly, take your time. We are not going anywhere. Something about her calm voice steadied him just enough. Mateo took a breath and began again, stumbling over 2 words, correcting himself out loud without apologizing for it, finishing all the 5 sentences about his mother's cooking in a voice that shook the entire time but never fully stopped. When he finished, the room applauded, not out of out of pity, he realized later, but because the point itself, imperfect English and all, had actually moved people. He found the same girl afterward, thanking for the encouragement. I almost didn't come tonight either, she admitted, introducing herself as Priya. First time performing here. I have a stammer. Actually, so trust me, I understand exactly how loud your heartbeat gets up there. Mateo blinked, genuinely surprised. You didn't seem nervous at all. Everyone terrified up there, she said, laughing gently. You just you just can't always see it from the audience. It takes the real courage. Showing up imperfect in front of stranger doesn't matter if it's a stammer of an accent, same kind of breath. They ended they ended up talking for another hour, comparing notes on stage fright, trading small tricks for calming nervous hand, and Mateo left that night feeling something unfamiliar and welcome. A small steady sense of confidence. Not because his performance had been perfect, but because he did survive it anyway. He came back the following month. Then the months after that, his English didn't come flawless overnight, and his accent never fully disappeared. But its performance felt a little less overwhelming than the last. But I forgot the fear completely. By the end of semester, Mateo had performed 5 times. And though he never once forgot the fear completely, he learned something he hadn't expected when his roommate first wrote his name on that sign up sheet. The fear didn't need to disappear before he could triumph over it. He just needed him to stand up anyway. On his final night performing that year, Mateo watched a nervous freshman stare at the shine-up seat from across the lounge, clearly torn between writing her name down and walking away entirely. He recognized the exact expression, the same one he'd worn 8 months earlier. He walked over, offering the pen. Take your time, he said, echoing the words that had once steadied him. We are not going anywhere. Thank you.